That's a great question. Similar to how it is really helpful for people with arthritis, it is really helpful for those of us in middle age. Because as you heard me say that these arthritic conditions really damage our joints, as we have joint damage, else do we have that's going to hold us up and get us moving through life? And that is our muscles.
Hey, everybody, I have Christa Fairbrother with me on the show today, and we're talking about water yoga or aqua yoga. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Heike. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, my pleasure. Your path to aqua yoga started with a life-changing diagnosis and a background in high-intensity work. How did that moment shift your relationship with movement? What happened?
That is a great question. I've always been very active. So you mentioned what I used to do. I was a farrier. So for people who don't know what a farrier is, I used to put horseshoes on horses. Very physically demanding job. I did that for 10 years. Great job. I loved it. But it was in the Pacific Northwest on an island. And so I was outdoors a lot in the winter. And after about 10 years, I was really physically feeling the winters. It's pretty commonly assumed it's not good on your back. And my back was holding up, but the winter was just like, wow, I'm really struggling with this. So I decided to go back to school and change careers. And then I had a couple kids. After I had my second son, I really had a health crisis, which made me understand why those winters 10 years ago became so hard. And what it was is I was diagnosed with systemic lupus erythematosus, which is an autoimmune disease.
Mhm.
And when I got that diagnosis, it was like, wow, this is different. Obviously kind of impactful, but it really made sense with many of the symptoms I've been having for years. So in a lot of ways, it was really a relief because it was like, wow, okay, now this makes sense. And I had that diagnosis, my kids started school, and all this time I have been doing yoga. So at this point, I'd been doing yoga 20 years. It was like, I think this is important to me. I think I would like to really kind of deepen my practice. I'm going to go to yoga teacher training. And that's something many people who go to yoga teacher training say. They don't say, "Oh, I'm going to teach yoga." I just really want to engage with my yoga. I was one of those people. And in the middle of that teacher training, I actually had a change in my diagnosis. And I was diagnosed with what's called mixed connective tissue disease, which is a combination autoimmune disease. And it meant I also had RA and some other things that manifest for me. And it was like, okay, wow, not only do I have the lupus, I have all this other stuff. And I really gave the yoga practice that I had maintained for so long the credit of how had I been able to shoe horses for 10 years and been a student athlete and done all these things and yet have this pretty pronounced diagnosis, and you're telling me there's quite a lot going on physically. And that really inspired me to, all right, yes, I am actually going to teach yoga. And I specialized in working with people for arthritis. And in that journey, I connected with somebody else who taught aqua yoga. They were also from Florida. They said, hey, I host this weekly wine and yoga night at the pool. And of course, my
Perfect.
eyes like exploded. It was, why has no one ever told me about this? So I immediately went home, learned how to do that, specialized in that, and I've been doing it ever since.
Now, RA, not everybody may know what RA, but it's this rheumatoid arthritis.
Yes.
And when somebody listens to the episode or whoever you are and you're thinking, lupus, what are the side effects? How would I know if I have lupus or rheumatoid arthritis?
Yes. They're both arthritic conditions. Many more people have heard of rheumatoid arthritis, so I'll talk about what that one is first. It is an inflammatory systemic arthritis that damages your joint spaces. People are more familiar with osteoarthritis. So, osteoarthritis is the common, I'm going to use big air quotes, excuse me, around that common. What we generally think of commonly as a wear and tear type of arthritis. Like I move my joint throughout my whole life and finally it wears out. We do know now that there also is some systemic stuff going on with that osteoarthritis, but it's generally confined to a specific joint, and it is very much the joint breaking down and then becoming a larger issue outside the joint. Rheumatoid arthritis is it's your body actually attacking the joint from the outside in. So it's attacking your connective tissues, which then causes inflammation and then causes bony damage. So it's kind of the flip of the osteoarthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis can affect your organs and other tissues, so it's not just confined to your bones, but that is what your body is choosing to focus on as a problem, so to speak. Systemic lupus erythematosus is an autoimmune disease where your body can attack anything. So rather than just attack your joints, or many people have heard of the thyroid autoimmune conditions where it's just attacking your thyroid or, a specific organ, a specific joint, it can attack anything. And it does like people's kidneys considerably. It can cause kidney damage. And both conditions have a lot of symptoms of pain, fatigue. Lupus can also cause fevers, a lot of skin rashes. That's how it got its name. It's theorized that's how it got its name, is real characteristic rash you get on your face that they say, oh, it looks like a wolf's bite, where you have these very kind of pink slashes along your cheeks because you get very UV sensitive. So that's sort of the quick rundown of what the differences between them are and how the symptoms express in people.
That's good to know, because I know some people that experience these kind of symptoms are probably on Dr. Google saying, hey,
Yeah,
what is this?
right.
But it's a great explanation from somebody who does work with that population to say, here, listen, there's a simple way of identifying it and figuring out what it is. Because I used to teach yoga, and one of my yoga teachers that worked for me also had lupus, and I learned from her what lupus is.
Yeah,
And then my mom has rheumatoid arthritis, so it all goes, and I have arthritis, the regular air quote kind.
right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
And
good.
Dr. Google is not very reliable. Like Dr. Google says everybody has fatigue, right? It doesn't matter what you have, it will have fatigue. So if for any reason hearing what I have said resonates with you, of course, go to your doctor, have a conversation with them about this. And they're really going to be looking for some real specific blood markers that are going to help them diagnose you correctly.
So what makes aqua yoga a better fit for midlife bodies than the traditional land-based exercise?
That's a great question. Similar to how it is really helpful for people with arthritis, it is really helpful for those of us in middle age. Because as you heard me say that these arthritic conditions really damage our joints, as we have joint damage, what else do we have that's going to hold us up and get us moving through life? And that is our muscles. So strong muscles support weak joints. That is the same thing that happens as we get older in terms of many of us are at risk or experiencing osteopenia or osteoporosis. So we're experiencing joint and bone thinning, which we ideally counteract with our medical providers have advised us to get some exercise. So we're loading those bones, loading some muscles. And then you think about just the normal process of aging. We leapt, of course, quite immediately into all these medical things, partly because of my history that I bring to it. But just the average, especially women, we tend to lose muscle mass as we age. Unfortunately, age is not real kind to us in that way. And so we need a way to exercise that can be kind to us and reflect the, as we just shared our arthritis stories, kind of reflect the bodies we live in. Okay, maybe we've got pain because of arthritis or some other things going on. There's so many different health conditions we have that prevent us from exercising on land in a way that maybe our healthcare providers are recommending, or perhaps that we used to exercise in. So when we take instead our exercise into the pool, it allows us to take advantage of the science of water, which has some distinct qualities we can talk about it, and exercise in a way that offloads those sore joints and yet still helps us build that muscular strength that we need to support perhaps these joint damage or aging or any of the other things we have going on.
But isn't it true that we need to combine them both, land-based for bone density? Because water is buoyant, so in water, and I'm a swimmer, and I also, this is really funny, guys. I used to teach water aerobics.
Oh, there you
water
go.
aerobics, water walking, water arthritis classes.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God, this was a different part of my life when I worked for the gym. I took all these certifications and taught all this water. So it's a really pleasure for me to have Christa on the show today to talk about something that I used to do in the past. Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
Yes.
So,
Blast from the past.
so you have the
Very
water.
important. Yeah, very
Yeah.
important question. So bone density and what do we need for bone density on water versus land? And it used to be very much like, oh, okay, you have osteopenia, you have osteoporosis. All you can do is that land-based impact exercise. And so they did some research in the water to say, okay, well, will any kind of aquatic exercise help people with these conditions? And what they found is that any exercise is better than no exercise, of course, right? Any medical professional is going to tell you that. And many people who are not able to exercise on land, that became the dichotomy. It was either no exercise or exercise on land. And of course, no exercise is not a good choice. And so if you perform any kind of exercise in the water, it is vastly superior for osteopenia and osteoporosis than no exercise. And then, depending on what kind of exercise you do in the water, is also going to impact it. So, aqua yoga is a no impact exercise. So, if you have osteoporosis or osteopenia, then a professional such as myself who does aqua yoga would be saying, hey, yeah, come and see me occasionally for the benefit it has. But you're right. You need to also maybe do some aqua aerobics. And then if you are able to do land-based exercise, yes, there's some distinct benefits to that. But if land-based exercise is not a choice for you, exercise in the water and let's come up with a strategy for how to get you a little more impact while still being in the water. They did a very recently, I believe it just came out here in 2025, they developed a high impact jumping class for in the water specifically for osteoporosis. And they had really good results for those people with that.
It was not the Italian teacher, was it? There, I've seen on YouTube this Italian, really super fit Italian water aerobics teacher who does that in the pool. And I was like, man, I really would want to do this class because it was
Yeah,
high intensity, high impact,
yeah.
and all sizes of people, which was great.
Right. The Italians, no, they're great teachers. I work with them. We have an association called the Aquatic Exercise Association, and people come worldwide to come to this conference. And I'm blessed being in Florida. For me, it's close. And yes, working with the Italians, they're amazing, such high energy instructors. So I don't know if the instructor you saw was the one who did the study, but yes, the Italians are excellent instructors.
So, what kinds of changes have you seen in women who start aqua yoga with stiff joints, low energy, and even low confidence?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges that people get the fastest turnaround in is balance. People come in and they say, I'm really struggling with my balance. Could you help? And they see results really quickly with that. And what the advantage is to aqua yoga or any really form of aquatic exercise is the water really supports you, right? You don't have to have that fear of falling because
Yeah.
I like to joke and say, well, what's the worst thing you're going to wound? It's your pride, right? You're just going to get wet and be like, oops, whoops, got a little wet. All right, stand back up. And so, what it does is it allows you to build that confidence, like you spoke to, in a safe way. And as you improve your balance, which is often, I find for many people, it's not that their objective balance is bad, is they perhaps haven't had instruction on how to balance well. We're not born with a manual that we get on our bodies that's like, oh, this is how you need to perform all these exercises. So for example, many people will take a stance that is too wide when they try and balance, and then when they go to stand on one foot, it's this huge weight shift. I know this is, if you're catching us on audio, you're just kind of visualizing, all right, if I'm leaning, well, then when you go to lean, of course you can't stand on one foot well. So I like to use the analogy of kids building blocks. If you've ever built a tower with kids, every single block has to go correctly on top of every other block or your tower's going to fall down. Our bones and bodies are really the same way as we tend to think our triangular structure when we lean to the side is going to hold us up, but it doesn't. And really that lack of confidence we have is based on that fact that it's just like, oh, wait a second, I just never learned how to stack myself up so I have good balance. So the water becomes a great place. You can practice that, learn to reorient how you use your body. And what people find is as soon as they learn that in the water, then suddenly their balance is better on land. And it really helps build their confidence. They feel more capable, and it might change their relationship to other forms of exercise because they're going to feel more balance that they can apply in other venues that they're using it.
Yeah, I love the inertia in the water when you start moving with your arms and you create all those waves and circles around you, which challenges your balance, your core
Totally.
strength.
Yes, yeah, see, because you're an instructor, you've done it. We didn't even talk about that one. So if I'm going to ask you to stand on one leg and then pin one arm, and then the other arm, you're going to move through the water and create your own water perturbation. Not only are you challenging your balance with just that asymmetrical shape of moving your arm, even if you did it through the air on land, but you're exactly right, is it creates that water movement. And again, those of you, anybody who's been in the water, you're like, wait, why is it so hard to move in the water? Water has greater viscosity than air. And so when you move a limb through the water, you are exerting more muscular effort than when you move a limb through the air on land. So that what you just spoke to is if I'm in that one-legged shape and moving my arm through the water, not only am I building my balance, I'm requiring a lot of strength in my core, as you spoke to. And then that limb I'm moving, I'm developing a lot of strength in that one as I'm moving it through the water.
Yeah, water aerobics is so great, and you can do it anywhere you go on vacation. There's a pool, or I saw the videos of
Totally.
you in your pool that's nicely shaded, and I love it when you like, okay, I'm going to warm up now. I'm going to walk around. I'll be back in a minute as you're going around
Oh,
your pool.
yeah. Yeah, so I did recently get on Facebook and talk exactly about inertia. So the water has inertia, which I was creating in this video, especially easy to do in a round pool. So that is if you're running around in the water and you're making this consistent shape, the water's going to start to follow you. If you're a swimmer, you've experienced that. Or if you're a triathlete, maybe you've used somebody else's drag, right? That water starts to go. And then when I spin around, my whole body inertia is going to encounter the water's inertia. And so that's the doubling up of muscular effort. And then of course that example we were just speaking to with the balance, that would be my limb inertia of I'm moving my limb through the water and experiencing that. So it's kind of a almost three-fer in terms of how we can build strength and get those benefits. Circling back around to, well, what does this do for you in midlife, and how can you create these challenges so you get what you need out of the practice?
And that's what I always think about water aerobics, aqua aerobics. It's a lot of fun, which I feel like Pilates is too. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of play. And in all of our courses, we do Pilates exercises at the Blueprint or all the other courses that we offer. But it's the sense of play, which is really a lot of fun. And there's
Yeah.
no limit. You said, what's the worst thing happens? I'll do a good dunk under and my hair gets wet. Big deal.
Right. Right. And it's very social. Like in a land yoga class, we're all very quiet. And, if you knock your water bottle over, everybody gives you side eye. It's like the end of the world. But the pools, they're loud, busy places, the mushrooms going. We always have kids, it provides that opportunity to connect with your neighbors a little
Yeah.
bit and have a more social experience to exercise, which really helps and is really important for our health.
What would you say to a woman who feels self-conscious in a swimsuit or bathing suit? We're not talking bikini, guys. Or is worried she's not, air quotes, a yoga person?
Okay, those are great things to unpack. Those come up very often. So remember, you do have to go between the locker room and the pool in your suit. But as soon as you get in the water, no one can see you, right? We are all just heads sticking out of the water and nobody cares, right? We're all just there to work out. And so that self-consciousness is really being driven by our own internal language because nobody's saying anything as we walk around on the pool deck, right? And so if you can flip the script a little bit instead of thinking, oh my gosh, how is it I look in my swimsuit? Instead, and think about, well, isn't it awesome? I'm here on this sunny day and I'm getting to work out in the pool because we're blessed to have that opportunity to have the fresh water and have the facility, and pools are really expensive and getting harder and harder to find these days. So if you have access to a pool, wow, just a little bit of gratitude to be there instead of, wow, wait, what do I look like? It's like, no, just flip the script. And because again, when you get in the water, nobody's even going to see you anyway. So it's let it go. It's okay. And then in terms of the yoga bodies is I have a colleague who likes to say that if you have a body and you can breathe, you can do yoga. Which I think is a
Simple.
beautiful, really beautiful saying. And so you don't come to yoga because you're already good at it. You come to yoga because you need it. We have this fallacy, especially as adults, that somehow we're supposed to be good at everything. Like if you've never played an instrument, you're going to pick up a cello and be yo-yo ma. It's like, no, you expect to practice at other disciplines. You're not going to be Van Gogh the first time you pick up oil paints, right? So it's the same thing when you go to yoga or any kind of movement. You're there to have a new experience. You're there to have fun, you're there to enjoy it and get out of it whatever you can and just expect that it's a new thing and enjoy the new thing rather than beat yourself up for that you're not perfect at something you've never done, which is why would you expect that?
Exactly. Can you break down what kind of strength and mobility benefits aqua yoga actually can deliver? And especially for women who worry it's too gentle to make a difference.
Okay, good question. So first off, I have to preface this by saying Aqua Yoga is a new discipline and we have no research in it. Unfortunately, if any researcher is listening to this and they're like, "Oh, I need a research topic that hasn't ever been covered before," ring me up and we'll talk about it. So when I talk about the potential benefits for the practice, I am trying to ground it in research based in aquatic exercise and research based in yoga, which we have both things for, but we can only infer the benefits from aqua yoga. So I have to be careful and make sure I say that because
Mhm.
we don't have any distinct research. When we look at these other two disciplines, what kind of strength can we build and is it potentially quote too gentle a practice? You
Mhm.
think about what we just spoke to is how do you challenge yourself in a way that is appropriate? If I were to take a chair pose, for example, on land, we would call chair pose fierce pose because we're standing in what we would call that mountain shape, just normally standing up and you bend your knees and sink it down and pretend you're in a chair, but your bum is just hanging out in the air. And it doesn't take long for most people, their quads really start to quiver because they're having to fire up. And the longer you hold it, and then perhaps you would take your arms up in the air and it makes it more challenging. We have good research on what it says, what muscles we strengthen when we do that in a yoga class. As we spoke to, what happens when I put that in the water, because of the buoyancy, I've offloaded a lot of my weight. I am not exerting the same kind of muscular effort in my legs as a chair pose in land. So what do? What you just spoke to, I've got those arms that are there in the water. And so if I'm going to try and breaststroke with my arms while in a chair pose, but not actually go anywhere. In other words, I'm just breaststroking with the arms while I'm in a chair pose. I'm exerting a lot of muscular effort to keep my balance, to stay in the form I've chosen, and then to move my arms. So I can receive similar muscular benefits to on land. It doesn't necessarily translate muscle to muscle in these particular postures because of the different aquatic environment. And then in terms of, well, how do I amp up the challenge? I make use of the water and its viscosity, or I perhaps challenge my balance. So I spoke to a chair pose, both feet solid on the pool floor, or excuse me, on the land floor. In the pool, I can say, well, wait a second, what if I did a one-legged chair? Which on land would be too challenging for
Really
many
hard.
people, right? It's like, wait a second, now I would like I got one leg up. But in the water, it's like, oh, now I can maybe do this, right? But then you think about, well, that leg I've raised, well, now I can move that leg in the water, in addition to moving the arms in the water, right? And then I could perhaps maybe maintain that form and then straighten the leg. So I'm standing with one leg raised and then I sink back down into my chair. So you can see that I can actually objectively make it harder than it would be on land and take advantage of the support of the water to make it both safe and challenging.
Do
So it's,
you use, Krista, do you use dumbbells or noodles?
oh yes, yes. So we can use props. The pool noodles are my favorite friend. I really like a pool noodle because I can get it to do so many things. The things we put in our hands, yes, I call them dumbbells. Everybody calls them dumbbells. They are officially aquatic hand buoys. which no one calls them that.
No, too
But
long.
yeah, no. Well, if you Google it, Google's not going to be your friend, right? They're just like dumbbells for the pool or barbells for the pool, whatever you're going to call them. And yes, they're excellent. And why they really help is they're buoyant equipment. So you've been to the pool, you've taken something buoyant, it wants to pop back up to the surface if you put it under the water. The fact that you would perhaps resist that is going to help you build muscle. Or if you take this buoyant thing and you move it through the water, again, it's going to help you build muscle. So it helps that, okay, we're in midlife, we're losing our muscle. Maybe we have arthritis, we need to keep our muscular strength up, or maybe we have, osteoporosis, and again, we need that muscular effort because we don't have the impact, and we're needing to, again, the muscular strain we apply to the bones is how we build the bone.
Yeah. If someone's curious but has no clue where to start, what's one simple way they can try out aqua yoga this week or even without a class nearby?
Yeah. Take a couple of the standing postures. If you've ever done yoga, think about the postures that you know and take them to the water. And the reason I say standing postures is we don't do inversions in aqua yoga. Nobody really wants, the kids love handstand and scorpion and, headstand. But most adults, they're like, no, that's okay. I'm not going to do those ones. So take the standing postures you already know and put them in the water. So something like a triangle pose or a warrior pose, whatever the poses that you know that keep your head above the water, go ahead and try those. Take them to the pool. If you have any of this buoyant gear that we spoke to, like a pool noodle or the dumbbells or anything, take them with you, give them a try, see what happens if you have them on the surface of the water or you move them through the water and see what you think. It really isn't as hard, it doesn't have to be as hard as people make it out to be, right? It can be as simple as take the yoga practice you already know and just take it to the pool.
Yeah. That's a very good advice because people really start overthinking things and they're thinking, like you said, inversions, down dog, and you're like, oh, I don't want to get my hair wet or whatever
Right,
they're thinking,
right,
right? It doesn't have to be that mind-boggling.
right. And just enjoy your time in the pool.
Yeah. Christa, you said repeat is part of your spark tip. What shifts do you notice in women who just keep showing up, especially the ones who were not sure at the beginning? So you said repeat.
Yes. So we learn by doing things over and over, right? We already kind of spoke to that. I'm not going to be perfect at something the first time I try it. So we just talked about take the yoga practice you already know, put it in the water. Absolutely. Do it. There's no barrier to access. Enjoy yourself. Is it going to be the most perfect thing ever? No, but that is not the point. The point is that you're trying and you're having a good time and you're learning something new. The growth opportunity happens when you try it again and again and again. So as you continue to take that yoga practice in the pool and continue to practice it, then you'll find these benefits that you get out of the water and you'll be able to say, oh, look, I experience this one thing when I move my arm in this way compared to I take the other arm, I move it a totally different way and look at this different experience I'm having in the posture now. And it's the growth opportunity. It comes in the repetition and trying it over and over and over.
Yeah, it's not like one Pilates class and oh, look at me, I got core. Or I take one
Right,
aqua yoga class and now I got balance.
right.
That's not, it's the
Not how life,
consistency.
right.
No,
Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't win Mr. Universe by going to the gym once, right? None of
that's for
us,
sure.
none of us make any progress with anything, right? It's the same learning to cook, therapy. We keep going for a reason.
Yep, yep. And the benefits will show in the long run. And sometimes they
Exactly.
come in really small increments too.
Yes.
It's when I compare it to Pilates, people said, how much better am I since the last month or something? And I'm like, I don't know. How do you feel? How does it feel in your body? Do you feel stronger with everyday activities, which also aqua yoga has the benefit of that as well? And how do you feel when you carry yourself? Do you feel it's easier? Do you feel that you feel stronger in certain things and more confident? And they go usually like, yeah. And I'm sure they say the same thing with aqua yoga.
Yeah, and the in parallels to yoga because yoga isn't just the moves, it's the yoga philosophy. And frankly, that's why people keep coming back. We've talked a lot about the moves, but my lunge in a yoga class is not any more special than a lunge in the gym. And what makes it yoga is more of this philosophy that we overlay it. And so what you just spoke to about people, they can stand up a little better and that maybe changes their posture. Well, the fact that they were able to identify that, that's called svadhyaya or self-knowledge. I think it's one of the most important things you get out of yoga is just literally the, wow, I can acknowledge that I have seen growth and a change in myself. That's really powerful and that's really important and something you're going to get out of it. As well as this idea of you just go to the pool and you just try and you have a good time is this idea of you're enjoying the process. You're not too worked up about the outcome because we cannot control the outcome. We have no idea where we're going to get. We can't guarantee anything, but we can guarantee having a good time while we get there, right? So if we really focus on the process instead of the outcome, which is again a very yogic way to look at it, as well as just a good recipe to enjoy our life, then again, that's what makes it yoga compared to just exercise and how we're really going to get more out of what we do.
Absolutely. Christa, thank you so much for being here, sharing all about Aqua Yoga as one of our first Aqua Yoga guests here on the show. So thank you for sharing all that. And I know a lot of my listeners will hopefully try it out.
Hopefully it's summer here. So I hope it really inspires people to get out of the heat and give it a try.